Hello and welcome to my review of the Sisters of Battle Mortifiers. Now the reason why I'm doing them as a review of Mortifiers is because I already have a review up for the Penitent Engine, and I will definitely be picking up 2 more Penitent Engines which I will do another review of. This box set is called the Adeptus Sororitas Penitent Engines. In the box set you get enough pieces to build many variants. You can build 2 Penitent Engines, you can build 2 Mortifiers, you can build a Penitent Engine and a Mortifier, or you can build 2 Anchorites, whatever you want to go for. I think in total, if you look at the unboxing, there's about 6 sprues. The box set itself will set you back £35, which I don't think is too bad for the sheer number of parts that you get with this kit. Of course, I think I mentioned it in the unboxing that I would have preferred dual box sets in this regard, both a box set of Penitent Engines and a box set of Mortifiers, mainly because I would have liked more variation with the Sarcophagus for the Anchorite, more variation for the Penitent Engine Convicts, or whatever you want to call them, and maybe variation between the flails and the flamers. I think if this unit had 2 kits for it, it would greatly benefit, and it might even be a bit cheaper, £25 instead of $35. Anyway, the reason why I'm calling this review the Mortifiers review is because I've built an Anchorite and a Mortifier. In the instruction guide, it doesn't really mention Anchorite anywhere. It just shows you Mortifier ×2, which are technically these, but in the codex it alludes that the Anchorite is the one in the armoured sarcophagus, but likewise it could be a Mortifier too. Hopefully all this hasn't confused you, but I think if we just drill it down to the exposed people on the front, if they're completely exposed, then it's a Penitent Engine. There's a fair bit of difference between Penitent Engines and Mortifiers. Everything from the weapon skill to the different weapons they can carry, even to the movement speed, which is really odd because for all intents and purposes the whole body of the unit is exactly the same, and the legs and the feet are the same too. The method of propulsion is the same. The only difference that sets them apart between Mortifiers and Penitent Engines is what's strapped to the front, and that Mortifiers can have these heavy bolters, which I've equipped mine with. I just feel like with their special rule surrounding heavy bolters, it just makes sense that they can move and shoot them rather than the heavy flamers, and similar reasons for the weapon skill and using these buzz blades instead of the penitent flails. Anyway, enough about that. Let's have a look at the models themselves. So I've built this one as an Anchorite. Now a big pro tip is you don't have to glue the shoulders on at all. You sort of have to glue the arms to the shoulders, but the shoulder can, with a little jiggery pokery, pop off. It's up to you. They're not that loose, and they're not too tight either. They're just right in terms of leaving them unglued, which is great, because if you do get Penitent Engines, I unfortunately glued the shoulders onto this one. I'm not sure whether you had a choice, but I did, so I can't use the Buzzblade and Heavy Flamer with that one. But when I do get an additional 2 Penitent Engines, I'm not going to glue their arms on, and then that gives me the choice of having flails and Heavy Flamers with these Mortifiers. So there you go, a little bit of a pro tip. And also it's cool to be able to just move their arms a little bit for where they are on the battlefield. That's like, give me a hug, that pose. But yeah, I've kind of got this Anchorite with its arm outstretched, firing that heavy bolter. I think it looks all right. Moving forward quite slowly. That doesn't look like it's sprinting forward. The sarcophagus is nice. A load of detail there. I've glued a couple of well, the lock I think you have to glue, but then you don't, that's optional. A few of the other like purity seals are optional too, that's optional. So there's plenty more spare parts to put purity seals on. There's just a lot of detail on here, a lot of detail in all the nooks and crannies. I don't know how I'm going to be able to get in there as well. That probably would benefit from sub-assembly. There's a huge gaping big kind of floor there. If you're able to fire a couple of bolter rounds in the back, if you can even manage to get around this thing at the hip joint there, it's a huge vulnerability, or even in the vials at the back too. But the front is quite well protected, I would say, with this sarcophagus. But the more exposed Penitent Engines like that centre of mass, it's going to get torn to shred, let's face it. It's not that fast either, movement 7 inches, whereas that's movement 9 inches. So as fast as Space Marine running, or just a little bit faster. So you're not going to have any problems sort of like in real life if you were to shoot these things, but I just wanted to make that point. So this is the anchorite that I've named an anchorite. I don't have to take it as an anchorite, I can take these two as mortifiers, but I really do think that the points and things are worth upgrading and taking one as an anchorite. So that's that one there, and then this one here is a mortifier, or is it an anchorite? Who knows? I think it's a mortifier. And again, I've modelled this one running with the heavy bolter, sort of firing as it's running. Really nice pose, and again, I haven't glued the arms, so you could really, you know, have its arms flailing about if you really wanted, like it's about to launch. Whatever takes your fancy in terms of pose. Loads of detail here on this this poor repentia, because that's the difference. Mortifiers are Sisters of Repentia that have disobeyed orders or whatever, gone against the ecclesiarchy, and the Penitent Engines are literally like souls, literally like people that have gone mad, or convicts from other worlds, or heretics, you know. They've just mind scrubbed them and strapped them to this big machine, and now they sort of follow the ecclesiarch's orders. So there you go. This one is quite cool, but the only difference between two of the models that you make is just this front area, either the sarcophagus or this exposed repentia, or if you're going to use them as Penitent Engines, is the body on the front. The weapons are exactly the same, whichever you choose. You know, you can have the buzz blades or the flails, and again, for the range weapons, you can either have the heavy bolters or the heavy flamers. Well, for the mortifiers at least. For the Penitent Engines, you can only have the heavy flamers. So yeah, there's just not that much difference in between the core model at all. However, you can substitute that with some cool looking poses. The issue I had was definitely with the hips and the hip joints. I don't know why, I just had an issue with that. Maybe I cut the parts out too quickly, but the hip joint itself and where it attaches to the torso as well, I just had you know, a few problems getting that together. They're glued and built so that they always have one leg, 1 foot off the ground, which, you know, it's fine. It's good for getting that sense of speed and things. I guess that adds to the aesthetics and the background to them, that they're always constantly moving. Then they are fast, I say fast units, fast walkers in a way. Especially this one that comes in the army set. This one is very, very, you know, full sprint. So let's have a look at all the spare parts that come in this set. There are many spare parts. We'll do some size comparisons after this, and then we'll go through the rules. It's going to be quite a lengthy review video today. So here you go. Look at all those spare parts, juicy spare parts. A lot of them you can't really use. I mean, you can't even use the sarcophagus unless you want to use it as a objective marker or something, but you haven't got the base of it, because the base of it is, you know, this other mortifier. So that's a bit of a shame. You've got these half strapped bodies, which, yeah, I suppose you could use a little bit. I think that goes on like that, maybe. Yeah, and then you've got a front of a body there, so you can choose a different front. There's the chest. So there you go. I don't know what you could use that for. Maybe on an operating table or something. That would be a nice little piece. You've got the other arms, which, yeah, if you found a way to magnetize into the shoulder joints, you could technically use these too. I even glued these flails when I thought I was going to put flails on them. I think they just pop in there like that, so you can have them, you know, just loose if you really want. So up to you if you want to have them loose or whatever, but they sort of keep their pose. There's no reason for you to glue them, really. If you don't want to, you can have them loose, which is nice. What else? You get a load more purity seals and things. You get the canisters for the heavy flamers. These are the heavy flamers. They look all right, and they look exactly the same as the one on the Penitent Engine in the army kit. And that's it. It's just more like purity seals and things. But yeah, that's all the pieces that you'd be left with if you built them like so. You're going to be left with all of the penitent flails, all, you know, 4 of them. You're going to be left with 4 arms as well, 4 flamers. You know, you have enough parts in this kit to make twins. You know, you can have 2 with, like I've done, 2 with buzz blades and heavy bolters. You can have 2 with flails and heavy flamers, or swap them around. It really is up to you what sort of weapon loadout you prefer. Okay, let's have a look at some size comparisons. So I already brought in the Penitent Engine, which is exactly the same size, I would say. Bit of a more energetic pose with the arm upright, but in all intents and purposes, very, very similar, if not the same. I mean, the back and the actual machine itself is identical, I would say, and the arms are identical if you opted for the heavy flamers. The only difference is sort of, you know, the person on the front, and even that you could kind of replicate a bit. The one that the Penitent Engine you acquired in the Battle Sisters army set is going to look right at home, flanked by 2 Penitent Engines if you choose to have them as them, or by 2 Mortifiers. Now, other Sisters of Battle size comparisons, we might as well just do one with the Canoness and Repentia herself. So before she went against some orders. So there they are compared to, you know, Sisters of Battle sort of infantry. They're, I'd say, twice the height or so. Definitely twice the height of a Sister Repentia. Yeah. So that's where they stand with those. Let's just bring in the largest kit for Sisters of Battle, not including the Battle Sanctum, obviously, which is the Exorcist. The Exorcist towers above these, I'd probably say, almost two times the height, definitely 1.5 times the height of these Penitent Engines. But they don't look small around it. They look like they mean business, and that they could protect the Exorcist. Actually, quite a nice little strategy, seeing as they're a bit faster than normal troop speed. And then after all is said and done with Sisters, let's do some other comparisons with other allies, I want to say. So I wanted to have a look at the comparison between a Dreadnought, just a normal size Dreadnought, which is quite small, but these Penitent Engines are quite tall compared to a normal Dreadnought. So they're a good chunk taller than the original Dreadnought there. Next to Space Marines. So normal Space Marine, yeah, Penitent Engine is going to give them a bit of problem. And then next to a Primaris, yeah, Primarises are a fair bit smaller than these. You know, basically Sisters equivalent of Dreadnoughts almost. Speaking of which, I wanted to do a comparison with a Contemptor. Now, bearing in mind this is a Custodes Contemptor, but you kind of get the picture. Contemptors are a little bit taller, just a little bit, compared to these Penitent Engines, but they're very fast. Try not to underestimate them in terms of speed and everything else, really. I don't know why I left this till last, but there's Saint Celestine. She towers above them, so if that gives you any help. And then I've got an Armiger. I don't know why, I'm feeling a bit like having some knights recently, so Armiger, yeah, a fair bit taller than these Penitent Engines, Mortifiers, whatever. And then finally, the last size comparison, because Orcs are going to feature on the channel in the not too distant future. I don't think I'll be getting the Ghazghkull Ragnar Blackmane box set, mainly because I just don't agree with Games Workshop's philosophy of charging you a large amount of money just to get one miniature or two special miniatures. Blood of the Phoenix was a different story because you got the new Howling Banshees and the new Incubi, and it was my first real taste of Drakari. But still, I'm not interested in anything else in that box set other than Gaz. Having said that, Orcs will feature on the channel. I've still got all the buggies to do, so thank you for your patience for those. But I just want to do a little comparison with a Killican, and they are, I can confirm that they're taller than a Killican's, so that's nice. I think the Dreadnoughts are a little bit taller though, compared to them. But there you go. That's all the size comparisons I wish to make. I hope they've been useful. Let's get into the rules. So this is my part of the review where I will go through all of the rules for these Mortifiers, or Anchorite and Mortifier, if you will. I must say that in the Penitent Engines box set you get the instruction guide, and unfortunately in the instruction guide you only get the rules for the Penitent Engines, which is, yeah, it's slightly frustrating, because if you don't have the codex it means that you're kind of forced into just using them as Penitent Engines unless you can find the rules somewhere else. But still, if you have bought these, I can't promote the Sisters of Battle Codex enough. It's absolutely glorious, and you'll find the rules for the Mortifiers in there. So you find them in the heavy support section of the codex. Luckily there aren't many units to contest this choice if you were to make it. You've got the Exorcist in there, you've got a Retributor squad, and then you've got Penitent Engines themselves. So only 4 choices in the heavy support choice, not like the unfathomable amount of choices in a Space Marines Codex, for instance. So, Mortifiers, they are a power points cost of a 3 and a points cost of 36. Now, if you want the Anchorite, you're going to have to pay an extra 6 points, so they're 42 points. So, Mortifiers then. They're a movement of 9 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill are both 3+, strength, toughness and wounds are all 5, 4 attacks, leadership 8 and a save of 4+. Instead of 1 Mortifier, you can have 1 Anchorite, and its stat line reads movement of 9 inches, weapon skill and ballistic skill both 3+, strength, toughness and wounds are all 5 again, 4 attacks again, leadership 8, but this time they have a save of 3+. So that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that 3+ save. It says this unit contains 1 Mortifier. It can additionally contain up to 5 Mortifiers, so you can have 6 there, for a power rating of +3 per model. It can contain 1 Anchorite instead of 1 Mortifier, and every model is equipped with 2 Heavy Bolters and 2 Penitent Flails. Now the Heavy Bolters work as normal. They're range 36 inches, heavy 3, strength 5, AP -1 and a damage 1, and these have 2 of them, so you've got 6 shots each. You can have the Heavy Flamers instead, which are range 8 inches, heavy D6, strength 5, AP 1, AP -1, damage 1, and when resolving an attack made with this weapon, do not make a hit roll, it automatically scores a hit. Now they're equipped with the Penitent Flails in the Codex, and I'll just read those out. They're a strength of +1, so that's strength 6, AP -2, damage 1, but their abilities is that you make 3 hit rolls for each attack made with this weapon instead of 1. So that's 12 hit rolls. If the bearer is equipped with 2 of the weapon, then the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack using this profile. So then you get an extra attack, which will be an extra 3 hits, if that makes sense. So you're getting a lot of hits there with the Penitent Flails. Amazing. But I've equipped mine with Penitent Buzzblades. That bumps the strength up to 8 because it's +3, AP is -3, and a damage is 2. If the bearer is equipped with 2 of this weapon, then when the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack using this profile. That could be quite handy, but essentially you're only getting 5 attacks, but at a nice AP -3. One of the reasons I've done that is because of their weapon skill. The weapon skill is 3+, and they have 4 attacks. I think that's quite a good return of investment to get those strength 8 attacks. The war gear options. Any model can be equipped with 1 heavy flamer instead of 1 heavy bolter. Any model can be equipped with 2 heavy flamers instead of 2 heavy bolters. Any model can be equipped with 1 Penitent Buzzblade instead of 1 Penitent Flail, and any model can be equipped with 2 Penitent Buzzblades instead of 2 Penitent Flails. So really you can mix and match with all those weapons, have whichever configuration you like. Abilities. This is where it gets interesting. Anguish of the Unredeemed. When a model in this unit is destroyed, roll 1d6 before removing it from play. On 4+, it meets out its final vengeance, and each enemy unit within 1 inch suffers d3 mortal wounds. That's amazing. Each enemy unit within 1 inches. So on a 50-50, they're definitely getting 1 mortal wound, but statistically, they're most likely going to be getting 2. No reprieve. When a model in this unit would lose a wound, roll 1d6. On a 6, that wound is not lost. That's all right, but 6 is quite hard to come by. But it's every time they would lose a wound, and they do have 5, so you've got 5 chances there. Blaze of Agony. When you choose this unit to shoot with in your shooting phase, you can choose for heavy bolters that models in this unit are equipped with to have a type characteristic of Assault 3 until the end of that phase, or for heavy flamers that models in this unit are equipped with to have a type characteristic of Pistol D6 until the end of that phase. That's very, very good. So basically you're getting these mortifiers with assault weapons, for better use of the word. In this current configuration, you've now got 12 Assault 3 shots. They can pump out a lot of firepower, especially with that movement of 9 inches. That means you've got an effective range there of 45 inches. From turn 1, they should be able to fire at anything on the board within line of sight. So it makes them a very shooty unit, and you want to be driving them as hard and fast to enemy models as quick as possible. I would still try and protect them a bit with cover. Their toughness is only 5, it's not 6 or 7 or anything like that, and their saves aren't the best, and they don't have an invulnerable save. The keywords: Imperium, Adeptus Ministorum, Adeptus Sororitas, Vehicle, Mortifiers. So there you go, they're the Mortifiers, or in my case 1 Anchorite and 1 Mortifier. I really like them, I really like the models. I think I'd only get another 2 Penitent Engines and call it quits. Having 5 in my Sisters of Battle army, order, whatever you want to call it, order, will be sufficient and a nice solid part of the force. So just as a little add-on bit, I just want to compare them slightly to Penitent Engines. I bring in the Penitent Engine here at the back. So why you would take them over the Penitent Engine? Well, Penitent Engines are cheap. I will give them that. They're 28 points instead of the 36. So you are saving 8 points. They're the same power points cost, but for those 8 points, you're getting 2-inch movement speed, which is vital. It may not sound like much, going from 7 inches to 9 inches, but just over 2 turns, that's an extra 4 inches of movement. That can make all the difference. You're also getting the better weapon skill of 3+ instead of the 4+. These are supposed to be, well, not really close combat monsters, but they're meant to be getting in close and ripping people up with the buzz blades, or flailing them into pulp with the Penitent Flails. You want a good weapon skill, and 4+, a 50-50 chance with 4 attacks doesn't leave you much wiggle room. You'll be lucky if you get 2 attacks that connect. So that's why I think it's worth the points there. And also finally the ballistic skill. Now, yes, the ballistic skill is 5+ on the Penitent Engines, so you don't really need it because of they can only be equipped with the heavy flamers. But in terms of the mortifiers, that ballistic skill being 3+ with the heavy bolters is an excellent combination for ranged weaponry. And finally, the main reason is the save. Now, the save for the Penitent Engines, is the same as the Mortifiers, but opting for that Anchorite with that 3+ save will make all the difference too. Penitent Engines, they don't have the Blaze of Agony, they don't really need it, but what they do have instead is Zealot, whereby they can re-roll the hit rolls if they made a charge move, was charged, or performed a heroic intervention. So technically you are re-rolling hit rolls, which does negate that weapon skill of 4+ a little bit better. And also they do have the Berserk Killing Machines for some reason or other. They can ignore wounds on a 5+ instead of the no reprieve, which is only a 6. Personally, I think that should have been reversed, or at least give them the same ability in that regard. But they don't have this Anguish of the Unredeemed, which has a potential of knocking out a few enemies with those mortal wounds, and they don't have that Blaze of Agony either, which helps both the heavy flamers and the heavy bolters. So I think if you're going to choose them as Mortifiers, the extra points, cost, tax, whatever you want to call it, is definitely worth it to upgrade them and to have them as much more of an effective unit than just opting out for all Penitent Engines. That's my take on comparing them to the Penitent Engines. I'll talk more about them when I get another set and do a full review of just the Penitent Engines. I'll compare them to the Mortifiers, of course. And there you go, that is my review. It was a lengthy one today. I hope you've enjoyed the length. Stay tuned for the next 2 days where I will continue with the Warbringer Nemesis Titan build guide. I hope you enjoy those videos, and I hope you're very much looking forward to the weekend where I'll be unboxing all of those Sisters of Battle new releases. Fingers crossed. If not, it will definitely be on Monday, but that depends on the post, as always. What do you guys think of both the Mortifiers and the Penitent Engines, both in terms of the aesthetics, the background, lore, and their rules as well? Please put all your thoughts and opinions down below, as always, and it'd be great to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.